Hey, what's up guys, Mookin Lord here, and today we're going to talk about Dragon Age Veilguard. Now, I haven't covered any of the drama surrounding this title here on this channel, but I've talked about it plenty on my social media platform on X, where I cover a lot about this. So if you guys haven't, and what I normally do is what I don't cover here on this channel, I always talk about it on that platform. So if you guys want to engage with me and talk about a lot of this stuff, definitely follow me on X. But when it comes to Dragon Age Veilguard, I essentially had no interest in it. Once I seen the trailer, I said nope. I just checked out of it because I already knew where this was headed. And what was interesting and why I stuck around to see and got invested in this type of drama is the fact is that when it comes to the controversy with games like Dustborn, Unknown 9, Awakening, Dragon Age Veilguard, Starfield, or any other type of controversial IP or title that's being released, what I essentially look at is see how well the game performed after the game's release. Because if you guys don't know, when a game is as controversial as Dragon Age, pivotal role in the culture war, we always have the mainstream media and many people who hates the anti-woke side, who wants to see this game does well. So you know the mainstream media tries to take cover for these type of games to say the game is doing well. But we also know that there's also a honeymoon period, or there's always a damage control period at the very beginning of its release. And what I look into is how long will that track, or how long will it last before we start to see the vase actually crack when it comes to the game's perception overall and its sales. So apparently that the developers behind Dragon Age Veilguard, they're pretty much admitting that the game is struggling, and I wonder why. So before we even dive into this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we are going to dive into it right now. So apparently on Bounding in the comics, it says Dragon Age the Veilguard devs reflect on game's release, say they're quite proud of critical reception, but admit sales are struggling. So, in an attempt to spin the game's less than stellar reception, Dragon Age the Veilguard game director Courtney and series creative director John Epler say that despite the mixed feelings players have towards the fantasy RPG latest entry, the overwhelming amount of positive praise it received from the mainstream media is something they are quite proud of. And this is the funny part. And this right here, this section of this article, this opening segment of this article already speaks a lot when it comes to the relationship between gamers, the developers, and the mainstream media. And what do I mean by this? Now, they're already admitting that this game, that players are giving this game mixed reviews. And then you look at them saying that the mainstream media has given them praise and they feel proud of it. So what does that tell you? That they essentially don't give a damn about what the gamers think and feel. What matters more is what the mainstream media is saying. But despite what the mainstream media is saying, it's not helping them in terms of sales. What the mainstream media says and put out there doesn't reflect what the gamers and the community itself that matters, and how and whether or not that the game is going to do well and perform. This is what they should be concerned about. And this is what's showing us what's been going on, is that these developers are not making games no longer for gamers anymore. They're making games for the mainstream media. They're making the games for their colleagues, their friends. That's what they're making it for. And the moment they realize, or hopefully if they don't realize it by now, that if they continue to go down this trend, these companies are going to collapse. And what they fail to realize is that no one pays attention to the mainstream media no more. The media doesn't matter to us no more. Everybody's getting their information in sources from independent media, which is content creators like myself and many other people who are actual gamers, who actually play these games and will actually give you some objectivity when it comes to reporting these games. The mainstream media would not do that because they have an agenda to push to you guys. As long as they continue to push and push these agendas, this trend is going to continue to happen. But let's move on. So it says Epler offered their thoughts on the divisive title Writer Reputation during a post-release interview given to Eurogamer associate editor Robert Purchase. Asked by their host as to how they felt at launch when people's opinion and reviews were rolling in, Botch began. The biggest thing I was feeling was the sense of curiosity. We get so close to the work, we're focused on day-to-day of it. And of course, we're playing and we're mindful of overall experiences, she explained. No, they're not. They're not mindful of all that. They're not. Because they were mindful experiences, they wouldn't even put this garbage out to begin with. They wouldn't have designed the game the way that they did to begin with. Instead, they would have designed a game that people vibe with and recognize when it comes to the Dragon Age IP. So no, they weren't taking any of this under consideration. So, continue. We know what we've got, but there's something. Even when you go through preview events or you have smaller hands-on demos, there's not quite like players in their hands or reviewers playing through the game for the first time. You're always curious, right? Of course. We've poured a lot of ourselves into the game, but I find for myself a sense of trying to let go of the personal investment and just step back and absorb what everyone else then has to say about the game's experience. So for me, it's curiosity. And what she means by that, the personal investment is that they had a plan, they had an agenda that they put into this game, and it means that much to them. So what happens is, now that the opinions of the players are coming out, she's saying that to not get triggered by what the gamers are saying, she has to put that aside to actually listen to what the gamers have to say about the project that he put out, which is Dragon Age Velguard. But we want to continue from here. It says, building on his colleagues' thoughts, Epler asserted, I say for me, probably Relief was definitely the top of my list. I've been on the project for a very long time, and there were definitely times in development where, especially early on, it felt like this day would never come. So the fact that it came out felt amazing. So I continue. I also thought it was interesting reading the reviews to see just the variety of what people were engaging with, what people were bouncing off of, maybe in pulling some of that feedback early on, he continued. Because again, as Courtney says, we're so close to the game, so close to the project, that it's hard to take that step back and look at it through that lens. Yeah, they're saying that they didn't want to look at it through the lens of the players, that that their vision. And as I said before, we talked about it as a developer, as a creative. Yes, your vision is always going to be important and everything. But when you're a developer who's pretty much carrying on the legacy of an IP that's known for a particular thing, and then you come in with your own agenda and your own ideas, and then you come in and you try to poison it or ruin it because of your own selfish ideas, then when it comes to gamers coming in and voicing their opinions on it, you're going to take that harshly. You're going to get triggered by it. You definitely are. And that's the thing when it comes to this, is that these developers right here, when it comes to Dragon Age Velguard, they were emotionally invested in it because of what they had in mind for this project. And anybody who comes in to criticize it, they're going to feel some type of way about it. And they're trying to teach themselves not to do that. They're trying to press themselves, hold themselves back, because I'm telling you right now, they've seen the critical reception, they've seen what gamers been saying, and they want to say a whole lot more to us gamers, especially to you guys who are fans to this IP and very disappointed into it, but they knew that they can't. So, turning to address Courtney's other point, Epler father admitted, curiosity was definitely there too, but for me, relief that it's out, relief that the reviews were coming in fairly well, and excitement for the fans to get their hands on it and start to see how they were going to react. And that's another thing when you're creative and you're creating a project and stuff, you definitely want to see how fans are going to react. Same thing with me with Venus Orion Comics. My campaign is next month, and I can't wait for us to go into the details about it later this month of when we going to launch the first comic book series and stuff. So I understand in that regard to how it feels, wanting to know how, the community, wanting to know how you guys are going to receive or give your feedback on, the comic book series and just Venus Orion comics in general when we launch. So let's move on. Met with an observation from Purchase that all the Dragon Age installments have been significantly different, Bosch affirmed, right? It's inherent to the DNA of the game, and what that means is you're going to have a diverse player base in terms of what parts of the IP resonates with them, what Dragon Age means to them, and ideally you're creating an experience that is really clear in the direction, but also something for each entry's fans. Yes, every Dragon Age installment may be significantly different, right? But they're trying to use this as an excuse to pretty much justify the direction that they went with this game. But what they're failing to realize is that Dragon Age and IP itself still has a core essence to it that everybody resonate and associate Dragon Age with. So for them to say that every Dragon Age is different is on the surface level, like, of ignorance, or a way to justify that, hey, this is our reason why we decided to go this direction with this game. So to continue on, offering his take, Esper posted, it's been a decade since the last Dragon Age game came out, and a lot of people have spent that decade imagining various versions of what this game was going to be. The reality was, whatever we came out with, it was never going to match Dragon Age 4 in people's minds and people's imagination. No, you didn't have to. You didn't have to meet everybody's expectations in terms of what they believe Dragon Age is going to be. All you had to do is just give them a Dragon Age game that people that respect their time. That's all you had to do. Give them a Dragon Age game that respect their time and respect them as fans. That's all you had to do. Because you're not going to satisfy everybody. We talked about that in previous videos, that you can't cater to everybody. You're not going to please everybody about whatever design choice and decisions that you make. But when it comes to IPs, legacy IPs, and IPs that people resonate with, there's still something that you had to abide to when it comes to these IPs. And when you go in there and you go in with your own agenda, and you're not really keeping the fans in mind, and you're more so trying to impress and lean into the trends of society today with this whole culture wars aspect and this whole woke ideology, this is the backlash that you're going to get. All you have to do is create a competent game. All you have to do is create a game that feels like Dragon Age in essence, that respects the fans. That's all you have to do. That's all. So, to move on, it says, next, Bertice inquired, as the game's current sales, asking his guests, how has the commercial response to the game been? I've seen stories about sales and they seem mixed and inconclusive. The game seems to be doing okay, but struggling to keep pace with Inquisition before it. Has it been a success from your viewpoint, and how do you measure that? So, taking the lead on this question and proceeding to address each individual point in reverse, Bosch this detail. There's 3 axes we can measure this by. Here we go. They're gonna try to bullshit you. They try to make it sound like it's doing good, but at the same time acknowledging that it's not. So here you go. What the team was able to do and put together, the pride that they can take in that. Every game that was made, especially in the AAA space, where you're talking hundreds of developers, timelines, is a miracle. That they executed at quality. Internally, we consider that a success. See, they beating around the bush. They beating around the bush. They're talking about sales. They're not talking about this bullshit right here. But let's go on. We're very happy with the critical reception to the game, she claimed. It's not common to have these challenging development cycles and have a team turn around and receive the critical reception that it did. See, the critical reception, they're only talking about the mainstream media praising them. They're not talking about the gamers who they were supposed to impress. So that is hard. That is a harder path to take. So yeah, we're quite proud of the critical reception. But of course, despite all the hot air Posh and Epler attempted to blow in defense of their work on Velgar, the former could not dodge the reality of its actual sales number, as they concluded her reflection by admitting, unfortunately, on the sales side, that's not something we can really discuss. But of course, we know Inquisition, that was a long burn to get to those sales numbers. So they let you know right there, they didn't sell well. They didn't sell well that well. And the thing is, for people waiting that long for Dragon Age, this game could have done blockbusters if all they had to do was make a competent game that respect the fans, that respect the legacy of Dragon Age. And the thing is, they could have just did the bare minimum. And fans, since they have yearned for it for the past decade, people would have came in swarms and still supported that game. But they didn't even do the bare minimum. They just went a completely different direction, wanted to do their own thing because they had an agenda to push, and they wanted to please the mainstream media. That's all this was about. And now they suffer for it because despite the glowing praise, and it goes to show how little power that the mainstream media has when it comes to the gaming industry right now. Because despite the glowing praise that they have given this game, which I'm finding out that IGN has been taking back what they've been saying about Dragon Age itself, but you see a lot of these journalists, it shows that they have little power now when it comes to the social media era. It's because despite them giving glowing praise, gamers weren't falling for that. Gamers are pretty much looking out for the cookout now. They know that they're being gaslit by the mainstream media. So no longer they have that power to convince people that a game is a good product and to go out and buy these games. No, gamers are now looking at the mainstream media and they're saying this. Okay, if IGN praised this game, then it's definitely the opposite. I'm going to do the opposite. That's what I'm going to do. Whatever they say, it's always the opposite. And that's what people are seeing. We've seen this pattern with Unknown 9. Here it is. I covered it. They talk about Unknown 9. They talk about the fact that this game has potential. They was giving it glowing praise, right? While at the same time giving it a little bit of criticism. But once the game came out, because this game was really bad, they had no choice but to say that this game was bad. But people already knew that they were full of shit. And the more and more they keep doing this and gaslighting gamers, the more and more credibility that these outlets would lose. And content creators like myself and many others who are actual gamers who actually play these games are always going to win. We're going to be the new media. So, after all that said, what are your thoughts on this whole entire situation? Do you think that this game will pick up some steam at some point? And the crazy thing about it is this game didn't really garner any real nominations in the video game awards. And like I said before, the video game awards is rigged anyway and is pretty much a corporate circle jerk. And even then, they still didn't really grab any real nominations at the Game Awards. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about this entire situation? Do you think that this is going to be a heavy blow towards Dragon Age IP, and will this pretty much go dormant, meaning that we probably won't see another Dragon Age in a very long time? So definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is Mugen Lord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.